Okay, your past is just a story. The past is a story. History is his story. So what about your story? What about your past? Pay attention to how you feel when you get presented with the idea that your past is just a story. What probably happens is you experience a sense of contraction in your solar plexus, and your immediate reaction is probably to resist the idea that your past is just a story. And ultimately, what you probably notice is you end up clinging on even tighter than you were before to your past, which is just a story. So why is it so triggering to suggest to someone that their past is just a story? Why is that so triggering? Why does that feel disrespectful? Why does it feel controversial? And it could be labeled hate speech. The way things are going, that could very well be labeled hate speech. So just consider this. So I'm going to say this while I still can. Your past is just a story. And I'm going to keep on saying it until it gets labelled as hate speech. And then hopefully, by that time, enough people will have realised what's going on. Your past is just a story. I'm going to assume that that's triggered you in some sort of way. And I promise you, everything I say is said out of love and compassion and truth. My only intention here is to find a way, is to help you find a way to challenge your old belief system. And the reason, my reasons for doing this are because I believe in the power of challenging your own belief systems. Because I've experienced personally the transformational power of challenging my old belief systems, challenging my old patterns of thinking, feeling, of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and ultimately beliefs. So my intentions here are pure, and you can get out at any time. I want to take you on a journey of deprogramming, a journey of unlearning. So this is brainwashing, where the end result is you think for yourself. This is brainwashing you to become aware of your own thoughts, feelings, actions, behaviors, habits, beliefs, self-identity. Because ultimately, what is our self-identity made up of? It's our past, which is just a story. Again, that is going to feel triggering. The reason it feels triggering is because most of our self-identity is built up around the story of our past. And the story of our past, the reason it's a story is because where does it exist right now other than in the story that you tell every day, that you remind yourself of every day? That's my past, that's who I am, that's what I believe. And this is why it feels triggering, because you, I, we all, it's not your fault until you become aware. Then it becomes your choice. You, I, we all have become falsely identified. So our very sense of self has become falsely identified with our stories. The story of me. Let me tell you my story. Let me tell you my story, and then you can get a feel for where I am. Well, I know where you are. You know where you are. You're right here, right now. I don't need to know anything about your story to know who you really are. Because you are not your story. You are the reteller of your story. You are the one who tells the story about the me. But you are not the story. You have become falsely identified with the story, and that's why you feel stuck. Because how could you possibly be stuck? Take a look around you. Unless you're in a prison cell, you are not stuck. So let's explore this idea of being stuck, because this is again, I can relate to this. I felt stuck for many years. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it. I wasn't shown, I didn't have a framework I didn't even know what it was that I was dealing with. I didn't even know there was a problem. All I had was a feeling, and all I could sense was something isn't right with this. Surely feeling this way is not obligatory. Surely there's another way. Surely I don't have to feel so disconnected, so unworthy, unfulfilled. What I've learned since, through my own self-reflection journey and through the journeys of my coaching clients, is part of the trap, the identity trap, the story of the me trap, when we become falsely identified with our story. Part of one of the prison bars which keeps us feeling stuck is the bar of comparison. So what happens is we recognize that we feel a certain way, and we recognize that I don't want to feel this way. But then what happens is we compare how we feel with how others appear. And because we feel misalignment, and that is real, the misalignment is real, the feeling is the real part, not the emotion that we attach to it. So the moment we attach a label to the feeling and we say, this is where comparison is so destructive. When we compare the feeling, misalignment, dissatisfaction seeking, unfulfillment, when we compare that with how others appear, it triggers an emotion called shame. So then we add to the feeling, what is the matter with me to feel that way? This is ridiculous. I should be happy. I should be grateful. So comparison becomes one of the bars of the prison of feeling stuck, because of the emotion known as shame, the label of shame. So then shame gets woven into our story. And shame means we don't talk about it. So coming back to this idea that you are not your story, you are not, that your past is only real for as long as you insist on keeping telling it. So first of all, you're not consciously choosing to be telling your old story on repeat all day, every day, but that's what's happening. So let me qualify that. There's nothing controversial about this claim. It's widely recognized and acknowledged by modern neuroscience. So this isn't some wacky spiritual claim. It's a widely well-established fact that for 95 to 99% of our day, we are operating from our subconscious mind. We are not consciously making decisions. And I would take that a step further and say we are unconscious. Let me qualify that. Let's take an example. Let's start with when you wake up in the morning. Your first decision of the day. Your alarm goes off. You are faced with a decision. Do I press snooze or do I get up when my alarm goes off? Now the chances are you will have a subconscious program which says when my alarm goes off I get out of bed. Or you will have a subconscious program which says when my alarm goes off I press snooze a few times. It's unlikely that you wake up and make a conscious decision whether to press snooze or not. It's likely already decided for you the night before, and it's likely the same decision every morning. So then you get up out of bed. Then what do? You probably have a subconscious routine, subconscious program. Okay, I'll get straight into the shower. I walk straight to the bathroom. Perhaps I walk into my son's room and wake him up. Perhaps I open the curtains. Perhaps I walk downstairs and put the kettle on. It's unlikely there's conscious choice involved. It's likely that it's a routine subconscious program. So we have habits and routines. There's nothing controversial about this, but this just demonstrates and highlights the fact that we're not consciously aware for most of the time. Think about when you're driving. You drive somewhere for an hour, you get to the destination, you can't remember the journey because your mind, you're not consciously driving. Your subconscious is doing the work. Your subconscious is checking the mirrors, keeping the distance with the car in front, checking your speed, checking your mirrors, checking your speed, looking at the road ahead, keeping the distance with the car in front, checking your mirrors. Your subconscious is doing all of this, easing off the accelerator, hovering over the brake, back on the accelerator, checking your map. Your subconscious is doing all of this. You don't need to be consciously present during to drive anywhere. You're not consciously present. Your mind isn't consciously driving. So these are some tangible examples of the idea that we are subconscious for most of our day. So what about our story? What about our past? Underneath, there's layers and layers of the subconscious. Underneath the functional layer of carrying out day-to-day tasks, like brewing a coffee in the morning, having a shower, and driving to work. Beneath that is a subconscious layer of beliefs. Beliefs about reality. Beliefs about who I am. I'm not one of these people who. There's a belief that's stored in your subconscious that says other people are lucky and the world's unfair. There's a belief that's stored in your subconscious that says I get stressed at work, but that's just part of life. There's another belief which says I've always been a bit of an introvert. I'm just not one of those people who feels comfortable and confident in social situations. It's a belief. And there might be stories attached to that belief which have led to that belief becoming a belief. But it's still just a belief. And it can be changed at any time. Here's the thing with beliefs. So first of all, the story of me, the subconscious sense of self, is just a collection of beliefs about who I am. This is me. But it's not only it's who I am, it's who I am not. It's actually the who I am not beliefs which are far more powerful and far more destructive and far more limiting and far more oppressive than the who I am beliefs. But here's the thing, most of the who I am beliefs are negative. It's not your fault. Until you become aware, then it becomes your choice. But to be able to change, we first have to identify, we first have to consider the possibility that we can change. And we first, and to consider the possibility that we can change, we have to consider the possibility that we are not who we think we are. You are not who you think you are. And until you can consider that possibility, you're not going to be able to change. You are not who you think you are. And I think I've landed on the most important step to personal transformation is acknowledging the possibility that you are not who you think you are. Because when you open the door to challenging just one of your beliefs about yourself, just one, you open the door to challenging all of them. I'm not saying you have to challenge all of them. You don't have to burn everything down. Everything you've experienced has been for a reason. It's brought you to this point. Every decision you've ever made has brought you to this point. There are no wrong decisions. There's just learning and growth. I'm not saying you have to burn everything down, but you have to be prepared to let go of beliefs that are no longer serving you. You have to be prepared to do that, because until you're prepared to do that, all you're ever doing is clinging tightly to the old story, the old collection of beliefs about who you are and about who you're not. And what happens, what I've learned in the coaching space and myself, and I guess I had to experience it myself to be able to not be afraid of when my clients get to this point in the coaching space. I call it facing the void. And I always get excited when my clients get to this point, because I know how close they are. And it's also the most terrifying point, because what we're effectively doing when we get to the point of facing the void, it's facing the apparently real fear of, who do I become if I'm not me? But if I have to let go of my beliefs, who do I become? And that's liberation. That's the freedom that we're all seeking. This is the paradox. That's the liberation that we're all seeking. And it's actually the liberation from the story of me, from the illusion of the self, from the prison of the ego. It's so simple. It couldn't be any simpler, but the problem is it's counter to everything we've been taught. It challenges our very beliefs, our very understanding of reality. I'm going to stop there because that's 21 minutes. Have a great day, guys.